The sensory deprivation chamber has been the most important tool that I've ever used for developing my mind, for thinking, for evolving.
And we are live. This is Questionable. This is Ethan McKinley. Next to me is Danny Kelly, one of London's, nay, the world's most sought-after tattoo artists.
Oh, full of shit, man.
We're at Good Times Tattoos. I guess, they based a TV show around this tattoo studio, didn't they?
No, there was stuff filmed here, and Nicole was in London Inc. before she opened this place.
Right. Well, apologies to listeners who are listening to this on iTunes and you can't lip read. We're actually in a functioning tattoo studio. And if there's a slight white noise behind us, it's because people are getting tattooed. I wanted to talk to you, Danny, because I learned recently you've been getting into flotation tanks, the works of John Lilly. I guess following the path of Joe Rogan, essentially, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, listening to Rogan speak about it kind of sparked my interest in it, but I started floating 3 years ago.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, long time, man.
Is the one in London then?
Yeah. Floatworks. It used to be in London Bridge, but they've just closed down now, and they got 2 tanks in Canary Wharf, and then they're opening up in Vauxhall.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
how much is it to float?
It's cheap as chips here. Like, we had membership, like my jiu-jitsu crew and my old CrossFit place, they had membership, so I used to go and I'd pay like 25 quid for 2 hours. You know,
Nice.
I think normally it's like 40 pound an hour or something like that.
Because in Los Angeles, of course, it's Venice, isn't it? You've got Float Lab, which is Crash's place,
Yeah.
which we've heard mentioned on the Joe Rogan show and various other podcasts.
Yeah, he's the man, all right.
And there's Colorado, right? There's somewhere there? And
Yeah, I mean, they're all over the place now. It's so popular now. Like, I found a place in Melbourne by accident, actually. Like, as you know, I had an accident, and for a little while I was really needing to float. And a guy, I had gone before my accident. I'd gone to a couple of float centres around Melbourne, and they were all just shitty old jank tanks, like from the 70s, far too enclosed.
Yeah.
You tap the edges, or they drip on you too much, and takes you out of the zone. And I was on Instagram one day, and a dude followed me on Instagram and liked maybe 8 or 9 of my pictures. And I thought, oh, here we go, another stalker. All right, who is he? I had a look at him. And he was a skydiver who's based in Singapore, and he makes float tanks.
Oh, wow.
So I'll push this closer.
That's right.
I got onto him, and I was like, man, it's a pity you're not in Melbourne. I'm looking for tanks that are like the ones you make. And he's like, dude, I sent 3 to a place in North Melbourne in Northcote, which is 5-minute drive up the road from my place. And so he added me on them, and I went up to them. They gave me 3 hours for free, and so I go up there once every 2 weeks for 2-hour floats. That's the way I like to do it. I don't like doing 1 hours anymore.
How's the float tank actually work? It's a giant tank. How many gallons of water? It's enclosed, right? You can't see outside.
Yeah.
There's no windows or anything.
No.
For those that don't know or have heard of a float tank.
So I break it down like this. It's sensory deprivation. So all of your senses are deprived. So it's completely dark. It's enclosed, so the air temperature is around the same temperature as the water.
Right.
Water is the same temperature as your skin, your surface of your skin. So that's 37.4, I think. I think there's something like 100 kilos of Epsom salt with magnesium.
Right.
Transdermally is the best way for your body to absorb and to take in magnesium. And I think 80% of the planet, of the residents of the planet, are void of magnesium. So it's the best way to take magnesium. So for body and mind, it is the best thing that you can do.
And you've been doing this for 3 years now. Now you're in, an almost fatal accident, which resulted in like massive traumatic brain injury, right?
I wouldn't say it was traumatic brain injury. It was a serious head trauma.
Was it prior? You were floating before this, though?
Yeah, a long time. Yeah.
What was the accident, if you don't mind talking about it? What was the?
Yeah, I crashed into a water buffalo in Thailand, of all things. So it's straight out of the comedy books, and I woke up a couple of days later, and didn't know who I was, didn't know who my mother was. Thought she was a nurse that was sent there to feed me.
Right.
I was completely erratic and psychotic, and it was all a result of the bleed in the brain and all the rest of it. So that's why coming out of that accident and kind of getting recovery, I really felt I needed to float, so.
The benefits of floating, how have you
That's killer.
Yeah, sorry everyone, we're in the middle of like we're actually in Shoreditch in a very busy part of London. What was I going to say? God, that's thrown me now. How's it transition into your life? Do you mind talking about it? Have you ever taken any psychedelics prior to floating or during floating?
Yeah.
Can you essentially trip while you do the float tank, or does that take like many sessions? Your first few sessions, how does it work? I mean, are you like...
My first few, I would always say, don't gauge it off your first float. You know, you want to buy a set of 3 because you get you always get a starter pack.
Right.
So if you buy 3, you pay for 2 and you get 1 free. That, you know, most places do that.
Sure.
Never judge it off your first one, because your first one, you'll be going through the mental checklist of the day. Oh shit, I never called that guy back. I never got this shop in. And that occupies your time, and you need to be able to get through that phase,
right,
to get into the zone. And now, like, I have ways in which I just slip straight into my zone. And sometimes I go in with obstacles that are in my life, with like an objective plan, that's stuff that I need to sort out, iron out the creases, you know. So where were we? What question was I answering?
Well, just like the initial sessions, I imagine, in the float tank are discombobulating in a sense. You're trying to hang on to, I guess when you take psychedelics as well, you're trying to hang on to reality in a sense, and you're falling into this, I guess, endless fractal kind of...
I remember my first float, I think I only popped into the real zone for maybe 10 minutes.
Like a breakthrough place, yeah.
And I remember exactly what I saw. Like, for a while, like, your eyes and your mind being the way it works, you know, if you're in complete darkness, it's like if you're in a dark room, you'll see traces of light, you know, like, you'll be able to chase traces of light, and you'll think that you're in the zone there, but it's not. It's just it's almost like your frontal lobe calming, you know. And
it's like changing gear almost.
Yeah, changing gear. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're just turning down. Yeah, turning down. And I remember, like, I got into this zone where I just started seeing, and it's a strange one to describe, but I was seeing like a 16th century samurai outfit with a black background and just a samurai outfit coming down, and then a beetle, like a close-up of a beetle coming down. And I think it has a lot of musical reference here, you know. That was like from left field, leftism. And then I started hearing just this quote, and it was like, "What must Earth think?" And I was kind of beating myself, like, what does this mean? And I was like, well, obviously it's man's battle with nature.
Sure.
That's what this symbolizes to me. I walked out and I was like, I felt light. I was like, fuck, okay, cool. You know, there is more to this than just relaxing your body. It's
and is this from the first session?
That was my first session.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, there was 50 minutes of me going through my mental checklist, like, I didn't pay my insurance on my bike, or you know,
reality stuff that you're trying to like
all the
dispense
shit.
with.
Yeah.
Wow. So as you go in from subsequent sessions, after, I mean, when do you become a kind of a Jedi Knight at it? When do things start to change in terms of, I mean, is it like a lucid dream where you can control where things go, or can you click into this kind of like netherworld gear?
For me, it's not like that. For me, it's not like lucid dreaming, but it is very much like I know my path to my zone very quickly.
Right.
So I listen for the day, like for the night before I go float, I'll listen to binaural beats to sleep, so that I get a good deep sleep, so that my body is producing good growth hormone, you know, and I'm just like, I'm in tip-top shape.
Yeah.
Well rested. And then when I go in, I'll listen to, can't remember what they're called, but it's like the ayahuasca chanting. You know, the maestro
ayahuasqueros, yeah, I've heard that on YouTube.
Yeah, so like I'll listen
the whistling and the
and I so I listen to that in the car as I'm driving up. For the last little while, I've been having a little smoke, you know, so I drive nice and slow, nice and easy. Get up there, and it's only 5 minutes away from my place, so, you know, go up, and by the time I get in there, I'm just about in the zone. And, you know, I've done a lot of meditation in the past, and the comparison I make, because I preach a lot about flotation to my clients, and a lot of my clients now are floaters. Yeah. So, and the difference that I make between what was I saying?
Well, between psychedelics, meditation and floating.
Meditation is like
taking the stairs.
No, it's like a limp-wristed, left-handed masturbation when you compare it to fucking your favorite porn star on Viagra.
Okay.
Like, dude, that's what it is. It's literally, it's chalk and cheese. You know, a lot of meditation, a lot of people who are meditative practitioners, they're almost, it's a chase. It's almost like a task to get into the zone, and that's more what they're doing it for, is to test themselves, whereas this, it's literally in, on.
Also, I think with floating, from what I've seen, and knowing you, of course, is like, I think there's a lot of like fake energy people attached to more meditation and the yoga stuff. And I spoke to a yoga person actually the other day, and they were saying yoga's good, but the thing that messes it up are the people that kind of do yoga in a sense, where like, you're not quite as connected because I had a breakthrough and I achieved something. And and I think float people don't kind of tend to have that aspect to their
A good friend of mine manages a very nice and very expensive fitness center very close to here, and she says like the worst, the most angsty people are the dudes who are the girls who are trying to get into the yoga class, who are like, you know, I've reserved my spot, rah, and it's just like,
the antithesis
calm
of
your
what you're supposed to be
down,
doing.
you know, and stop being like that. You know, it's almost like they're trying to become something that's no part of their lives, you know.
So you don't need a psychedelic to obviously float and stuff. You've done psychedelics while floating. How does that change the game in terms of when you do that? Because John Lilly, of course, who was the pioneer of float lab and sensory deprivation, he was taking like injecting mescaline, right, and stuff, and doing some like ketamine as well.
He had a device under which he could stay in the float tank for 8 hours.
That he could piss and shit in.
Yeah, man. That dude, like, pioneer but nutbag, you know what I'm saying? And like, he would do it beside dolphin tanks. You know what I mean? Like,
try and communicate
fair
with
play
it.
to him. Like, you know, you got to take your hat off to him. Personally, I'll piss and shit before I get in the tank. You know, I shower too.
I don't know. Have you done any like reading or watching of John Lilly's stuff? Was he someone that like drew you into floating, or was it just Rogan all the way?
No, I would say it was Rogan.
Yeah,
he kind of opened my eyes to it, and then, you know, my crew that I used to do jiu-jitsu with, 2 or 3 of them were floaters, and it was just like, it's almost like, it's like a breakthrough moment when you figure that other people are, because then you realize that they truly understand you. You know?
The community.
Yeah.
Almost like you're on a psychedelic and someone's trying to find the right word or a thought, and you're going, I know.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's almost like it's a brotherhood. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What psychedelics have you done actually in the tank then?
I've
like
done
smoked weed or eaten edibles, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I've done those. Yeah, and I've done microdoses of psilocybin, so dried up mushrooms.
Is there a difference between the two experiences?
Yeah, most definitely, man. Most definitely. Like, for me, I don't do a lot of psychedelics anymore. I used to do a lot when I was younger.
Right.
So I'm a little bit. I'm not apprehensive about doing it, but I'm very careful about the doses I do.
Sure.
And it's much more of a jovial experience. Like, it's literally, you know, last time I did mushrooms in the tank, I spent an hour and a half stretching because I've blown out both my shoulders.
Is there enough room in the tank to do that?
Yeah. Well, I'm shorter than you, so I got space.
No, but if you're putting your arms out or up, I'm sure. How big is the tank?
Yeah, the tanks I use, they're about, I think they're 7 foot by 8 foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Floatworks, they used to have 2 9 foot by 7 foot tanks. Like, that joint, seriously, man, it's one of the pinnacles of floating. It's considered to be a pinnacle worldwide, you know. They had 8 tanks and they were open 10 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week.
Bloody Nora. So yeah, what's the psilocybin experience versus the edibles or weed experience?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the couple of times I've done it, it was much more jovial, much more fun, and I did not get myself into that zone, and I didn't actually, you know, it was fun, you know. I was, like I said, like I was just saying, like, I spent an hour and a bit stretching and listened to how my shoulders pop differently, because you're floating on water, it keeps you on a complete straight plane. So, like, where I've blown my shoulders, if I move my shoulders, I'll round them, you know what I mean? but in the tank you don't. So I was focusing on that, and I was just listening to the noises that they both made, because your ear's below the water.
Yeah.
So I was just tripping out listening to the noises. Like one of them's like a doink, and one of them's a pop. You know, I spent an hour enjoying that, and then for a little while, like I kind of did go into a zone, and then this is a good one. Hey, this is a funny one. I went into the zone, right, and then all of a sudden I heard a noise like pew, like in both ears. So it wasn't air caught in my ear.
Water, yeah.
And like the first thing, I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's nothing in the room, and it's nothing outside the room, because it's noise proof.
Yeah.
All the rooms, like they got 6 rooms in this place, and they're all noise proof, soundproof. And, you know, course, tripping balls. First thing I thought was, there's no molecular structure to sound. I must have sent sound to myself intergalactically. Like, I've sent this from a different plane of reality to myself as a test. Maybe sound can travel through time and space
or dimension.
Yeah, and I'm just wigging on that, just pissing myself laughing. Like, it was good, but like for me, if I'm going to do anything that's anyway mind altering, it's weed. And like, I don't smoke weed you know, for fun or to pass time or anything like that. I literally just do it and it's a very measured amount for the float, you know.
Yeah. Have you read Graham Hancock's book Supernatural? Are you aware of that?
I haven't read it, no.
It's about ayahuasca and stuff, but I think the central conceit of the book essentially is when you have any kind of psychedelic experience, it's is it just your mind playing tricks on you, or are you changing a gear in your mind and you're seeing the other side, speaking to the dead? You're seeing things that are like around us all the time, but obviously in this like reality that we live in, this channel normal, we don't see that. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, you know, views on psychedelics can be arguable from psychedelic to psychedelic. So LSD is pretty much man-made.
Yeah.
LSD, it's been found, actually shuts down your brain. So that, like, people say it opens your mind, but it actually shuts down several parts of your brain, and that's why you experience that trip. But a LSD trip is very different to a plant trip, you know, or, you know, let's face it, it really is in a massive way. And yeah, I'm open to the idea that you know, plant trips they do open you up to energy of the past, energy of other people who've experienced the same plant trip, you know. So I'm open to that idea and that thought, and my mind, it often comes into my mind when I'm actually experiencing it.
It's a shame it's illegal, because they were talking about, I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but like MDMA, which is not obviously a plant thing, but also kind of like psychedelics to treat depression, people with terminal illnesses, fear of death and stuff.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Exactly.
Like you look at in the States, like the amount of guys committing suicide, you know, ex-servicemen, I think the suicide rate is higher than people who die in the field. You know?
No, totally.
And MDMA, and actually a concoction of MDMA and testosterone actually breaks that spell of PTSD in a heartbeat, you know, as opposed to SSRIs and all this kind of shit. It's a completely different way of treating, and they need to cotton on and start making money off that.
Well, it's big pharma, isn't it, that's kind of holding all that stuff back. I mean, it's much easier to get someone on Ritalin or God, what are the other ones? I mean, you name them. I like stuff that's really not good for you. And well, all the school shootings, they think, are linked less to gun control and more to kind of like pharmaceutical control.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, no, it's very interesting. I'm not sure myself. I'm not sure if you are experiencing a different plane of existence, or you're speaking to the dead, or like you're just your mind's a bit fucked. I'm not sure. But they're very rewarding experiences, the ones I've had, but never in a flotation tank. I mean, the next step for you, which you're leaving tomorrow, is to go to
I'm going to Austin tomorrow, yeah.
Which is the Onnit Academy, right?
Well, I'm going to go there, yeah. I'm going to go out there for a little bit of work and to see some old friends, and, you know, this is my year, you know. I was reborn on the 28th of April, you know.
In what sense? What do you mean?
Well, that's when I woke up.
Okay, so you're not born again Christian?
No. I got no religion, man.
What was the wake up then? What was the What's this?
That's when I woke up after the accident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. So it's my first birthday. So yeah, I'm gonna go visit my friends, have a look around. I wanna go to On Academy. I wanna suss out what they're about. You know, hopefully I can bulk buy there and ship it all back.
Are there any things left over, or ghosts, if you will, from the accident that kind of stick with you in a sense, or any like problems mentally you've had that have, like the floating has helped and maybe the psychedelics?
Absolutely. Like I had a.
Because I imagine most people don't have that as an outlet or even know about it, that have a similar experience.
My first float back, I had full photographic memory of the accident. And I had what I can only say would have been like an electric shock. And it scared the shit out of me. And I jumped in the tank. It was almost like part of my, it was, you know, I think it was due to accessing that memory that I hadn't accessed before. And it scared the shit out of me. I got out of the tank and I didn't float for 5 weeks because I was just processing the...
So it's like an acid flashback in a sense.
Well, have you ever taken... Okay, can I talk to you here?
Sure, yeah.
Have you ever taken a shitload of pills back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tuesday morning you get this bang in the back of your head that makes you jump. It was like that times 15.
Like a blood surge, you know, like, the electric shock. Yeah,
the electric shock.
Electroshock therapy, like Jack Nicholson in Cookie's Nest, they put the electrodes in his
It was like that, dude. Like, seriously, no joke. And I got out of the tank, I cried my eyes out, crying in the shower. I was like, I just couldn't believe that I'd had full photographic, slow motion, scene by scene.
The epiphany of the moment, essentially.
Yeah, the moment, yeah. And then
the float brought that on, the tank experience.
Yeah. And I think that you know, I think it comes to you at the right time. The right things come to you at the right time. And that's why I had a real desire to float. I knew that it would bring something out that I needed to come out, and that happened. And then so, like I said, it kind of scared me off floating well, it didn't scare me off, but I took about 5 weeks until I floated again. Then I went in for a 2-hour float. And that day was quite an unusual day. I was riding my motorcycle for the first time since the accident. A new little, you'd laugh at this, it's a little CB400.
That's right.
It's not like I used to ride. And
it's still probably faster than the Harleys we used to own, though, right?
No, my Harley was a lot faster than yours. You remember me?
Well, you're 1200, right?
Yeah,
mine was 883.
Yeah, mine has a Dynakit as well, so yeah, heartbeat, mate. And so I had gone to have lunch with a friend. We trained, then we had lunch, and then I said, "Cool, I'll come and pick you up in a couple of hours."
Right.
I rode home. There was a hot rod show on the street, so I was riding nice and slow, having a look at the porn, and I broke away. I went up the street, and there was a guy in a really nice Mercedes.
Right.
I could see him in my mirror chasing me. I was like, "Nah, I don't want to race anybody here." So I pulled in to let him pass, and he pulled down the window and he said, "Mate, weird question, but are you single?" I'm just like,
where's this going?
Man, these gay boys have it. They got it locked, eh? Like, fair play to them. I'm just thinking, I wish I had the balls to do this, to girls. And I was laughing. I was like, it's complicated. Why do you ask, man? And he's like, "Oh, I'm on the phone to my best friend, and I think you and her would be really well suited." I'm just like, what? Like, pull in, let me have a chat with you, right? So we pulled in, had a chat with him, and I just shook his hand. I thought, what a dude, like, you never get anything like that, hey.
I was going to say, just try and keep your mic, because we're drifting back a bit here. They're tattooing extra rapid pace behind us.
All right. So and to be honest, like, in the 5 weeks leading up to this second float after the accident, I was dealing with quite a lot, I was dealing with massive bleed in the brain. I'd had to teach myself how to ride again, teach myself how to walk properly again, because I had no control over my left foot.
Yeah.
I'd gone from 92 kilos down to 74.
Yeah.
So it was like and my relationship had unfortunately ended.
Come to an end,
So I was kind of dealing with all of that, and I think like the weekend leading up to the day of the float, it was a Sunday, I'd gone through a lot of conversation with friends and kind of, realized, okay, cool, it's all good. Like, we're human, live and let live, like, no hard feelings, and just get on with the show. And then this guy who I thought he was gay hitting on me basically hooked me up with a friend of his, you know, an hour before I went for the float. So it was almost like, it was, you know, like I said, it comes to you
when it's right.
When it's right. And it was just very strange. And then, so I went in, floated again, full photographic memory within 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's like I'm still here. You're not going anywhere. You got to deal
with
this.
Yeah, it was like you're locked in. You're still on the path. You're in. Full photographic memory of the accident again. I got a slight jolt, but it wasn't like before.
Right.
And then I lay there and I was completely calm. And I became an eagle. Right?
Yeah.
And no joke, man. I had 15 color receptors in my eyes. I was reading extraviolet and ultraviolet movement on the land. I know exactly where I was as an eagle as well. I wasn't a human imagining I was in an eagle's body.
Maybe it's your spirit animal.
Every movement that I made, yeah, I was like, every micro muscle in my wing was reading the wind. It wasn't even like my brain was reading the wind. It was just animal reaction, right? I know exactly where I was. I was in Varkala in Kerala in southern India because I've sat on that cliff and I've watched eagles 30 meters away.
Stuff.
Yeah. Right. And I was just like, I was free of the weight and the baggage that I'd been carrying for, at that stage, 5 months after the accident. And it was almost like, it was literally just like, good man, you've done all right. Here you go. You're free.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Symbolic. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they say that about psychedelic experiences. If you're ever on a bad trip, it's not because it's a bad trip. It's there's some shit you're not dealing with, and it's bringing all that subconscious stuff you're trying to bury. Maybe like the accident, maybe like something in your life. I mean, I've certainly had that when I used to do acid way back in the day, and you start getting the fear or the paranoia. But it's just stuff that you kind of not want to deal with, and you kind of pushing it over there, and it keeps going. No.
Sometimes it's because you agreed to take that second fucking tab, dude.
Or the third, or even the seventh.
Yeah.
So the next step in going to Texas, have they got something extra that maybe the British float labs don't have?
Yeah, I've just kind of done a little bit of research, and there's a mad float center there, and the guy builds his own, and it's like Crash, he's on the forefront of.
If you've got time, why don't you go over and check out Venice and book into the float lab and meet Crash and stuff?
I don't have time. Like I'm going to California, but I'm going to Oakland straight down, and I'm kind of tight on time, and I've never been there before. You've spent time there.
I know I lived there for a bit. I want to go back there this year actually. We should go and check out the float lab. I'll start floating.
How far out is Oakland from Venice?
I don't know. I lived in North Hollywood first, then West Hollywood, and then for one of the months I lived in I lived in like Far East LA by Union Station, which is kind of a rough neighborhood, I'm told. Vineburn Avenue. It's not the best. Venice, though.
You were prey there, yeah?
Yeah.
Pretty boy prey.
Well, not that. It's just there's still like a lot of gangland stuff there. And if you go down the right street, you're okay. If you go down the wrong street, because I'd walk with my suitcase full of stuff. If I was going into town or like with my bag, I'd walk from Union Station, which is about 2 or 3 miles, because I never could figure out how the buses work. So LA sucks for buses. And I'd walk through, go to the Skid Row where the bus station is, and like get the bus, which takes 2.5 hours to get to Venice. But Venice is about, if you're in a car, maybe about 6 miles from West Hollywood. But I don't know where Oakland is.
Yeah, I don't even know the lay of the land. It's literally I'm going there to hang with old homies, you know. So
well, if you can get to Sunset Strip, have you been to LA before?
Nah, never mind.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, if you can get to Sunset Strip and just follow that to the sea, you'll come to Venice. So maybe you will have time. I don't know. But it's an awesome place.
I got 4 days free or 5 days free, so. I want to do a little bit of exploring, and no better type of exploring, eh?
I understand Colorado's a good place for floating as well.
Colorado's meant to be a good place for fucking everything, dude.
Yeah.
Since they legalized weed, it's meant to be just awesome. Like, heaps of creative business opening up, and like, the infrastructure is right, and the terrain seems like it's pretty.
I mean,
decent.
the tax revenue they get from that stuff as well.
They're giving taxes back to people, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm just wondering if that will ever bleed out over here.
Man,
or would the entire United States have to do it, and then it would come here.
Let's face it, right? If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. That shit's making dollars, and America's all about
making money.
Brass tacks. Let's face it.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately,
there's a hair on the microphone.
Maybe it's fortunate in this
Last
sense.
guess.
America does kind of pave the way for, differences in, in law change. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I don't know. Have you ever smoked a vape pen with the weed, the gel in it?
No. But I'm going to smoke a vape pen with DMT when I get back. A friend of mine has a really good hook up.
I've done DMT here.
On 5-MeO.
Oh God, I think the first 2 was regular, and then I'm not going to say who my friend is. It begins with a G. You know you're out there.
What up, G?
But the first time I did it, I really didn't like it. It was horrible. It burnt my throat, and he even put like the. It's not the ayahuasca tobacco, but it's like the kind of tobacco stuff they put in with the stuff when you smoke ayahuasca. Oh, it was awful. And we were trying to get to have what he called a breakthrough dose, but all I was constantly getting was this constant like fractal shapes and like Aztec or Inca patterns just going off into each other. He said he's since had a breakthrough dose, but like the third one, I got very close to it, but it was very, very psychedelic. But it was not as bad as when I went into a K-hole. That was really bad. I did too much of that once, and I was trapped in this like psychedelic. I've only ever been in a K-hole
once,
I was in this psychedelic nightmare for like literally 50 minutes, but it felt like hours. It was awful, and it was. They say it's ego death, but it's you just trying to hang on to reality essentially. And it was just this constant repeat of like going around and coming back to the same spot in my head and going, oh, I'm back, and then going on a roller coaster. The DMT was very similar to that, but it was much more colourful. And the first couple of hits, you just see like a technicolor apparition around stuff that would like just vibrate, and then if you did more, you'd kind of go into it. You've done it already, right?
Yeah. A couple of times.
So yeah, 3 times for me, but didn't have a breakthrough. It was it's just very discombobulating. But acid I was okay with. That was like way back then. I'm not sure if it's like an age thing. I think doing stuff now as you get older and I guess you know yourself. Is it because you've got much more of a hold on reality, that you've got bills to pay, you've got responsibilities, you've got a job, you've got this, you end up fighting back more to it versus when you're young and a teenager? Do you know what I mean?
When I was like up until 21, literally I'd do 10 good old pills and 5 trips on a Thursday night. You know what I mean?
Fresh as daisy for Friday.
Nobody even, because I never drank, so nobody ever at work, nobody ever thought I was doing anything. But like you're bulletproof and you bounce when you're young. Nowadays, like I don't party, and since my accident, I don't touch anything. But like,
well, not natural.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. I don't touch anything recreationally. Let's call it that. Yeah, and but like back then it was just it was like whatever, fuck tomorrow. But now, like, if maybe like a year and a half ago, if I was partying, if we were going out on the weekend like we used to, I would give myself a clear week where I didn't have to start any new tattoos that week. It was literally just old clients, sit down, chill,
you can
no
recover
stress.
slowly on the job.
Recover slowly and don't give yourself anything to fuck up,
Do you not think that is though? I'm not sure. It's just my theory. Maybe it's the adult mind. I think I end up just, when you do a psychedelic now or something like that, you end up kind of fighting back more. The ego death thing is much harder a thing to get through now versus when I was 18 or 17 doing it.
For me, it's the opposite.
You think?
Yeah. For me, it's the opposite. Like,
well, you've done this graduation also through float tanking as well, so I think that might be something to do with it. You've been able to detach the mind from the body in a sense.
But I'd say, like, I did a lot of acid when I was in my early 20s, late teens.
Do you think that was beneficial for you?
No. Well, that made me realize that acid, you can get weak and you can get strong, and you just don't know what the hell you're doing.
Sure.
You don't know what you're getting. Depends on who made it in their bathtub. With the mushrooms, it was like, for quite a long time, I would, in my later years of tripping, for outside of the tank, in different circumstances, I'd go and trip on my own, and I'd go into the mountains on my own.
Right.
And I'd go with a purpose, and I'd just want to be on my own in nature. And there was none of that fighting with yourself. It was literally just enjoy
You have to do it in a natural setting. We used to do it in the woods and stuff when I was much younger. I know people that like have taken it and gone to clubs. And you're like, are you fucking insane? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
that's the last place
you get trapped in the toilet,
or even a festival. Even though that's outside, you remember like 50,000 people.
Yeah. I mean,
worst thing you can do.
I spent 3 hours in a club toilet looking at my face melting because I thought I was a mummy. You know what I mean? It's like, there's right and wrong. You know.
So the next step, you're going to do. How long are you in Texas for?
I'm in Texas for 6 days, and then Oakland for 8 days.
You're going to buy some Onnit products as well, I assume.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Sponsor me on it. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, I got friends over. I've got a couple of very good old close friends. So it's just, it's going to be perfect. It's exactly what I want right now. Then I come back, and then I go to Ibiza. So who knows how I'm going to come back from Ibiza.
Well, you're going to go. What are you going to do in Ibiza? Are you going to stay sober?
Yeah, well, now when I go...
Ibiza's probably the last thing in the world that probably does DMT, acid, and psychedelics, no?
No, I can get it there.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know good crew
I'm sure
there.
you could, but there's no crowds. I mean, who would be doing it? I guess you go into the mountains, right? Or there's some nice little villa on the mountain.
Well, I mean, I don't have any plans to do it, but I'm sure if anything comes along, it'll be in the right surroundings because it'll be with the right people. I won't do it in that scenario, in that madness scenario. Like now, when I go out, like I went out a couple of nights ago to 3 clubs, and I had 1 drink in the whole evening. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't drink. I've never drank when I go out.
You never
ever? Not even never. Not even tried a cigarette. Even though I smoked a vape pen in LA. We went to see Jurassic Park 3D, and I got super concerned, even though I'd seen the film, about the story of going, this dinosaur thing, this could really get out of hand. Oh my God. And then I thought, did I just say that out loud? And then I just was sinking in my seat thinking I was saying, but I was actually just thinking it. I'd never smoked weed before, and I did a fucking vape pen in LA. What was he just saying anyway? Prior to that, oh my God.
Yeah, the dinosaurs are coming, yeah?
Yeah, the dinosaurs come in. As we wrap up, if someone's going to start or thinking of doing floating and stuff, where do they start? If they're in London, we're in London, where would someone start? What's the first starting point you can go to start floating?
Well, there's Floatworks, and they used to be based in London Bridge, but they're now, I think they're in Canary Wharf. They've got 2 tanks in Canary Wharf, unfortunately, but that's just like a bridge for them opening their new...
It's just to show the bankers hook into that market, right, I guess?
Yeah, man. I to be honest, I don't know, because I've not been here for so long. So
what's the most regular place you've been to apart from there then?
Well, that was it.
It is.
Yeah.
I'll find it and I'll put details up on the video and stuff.
Yeah. So they're opening. I think they're opening this month, July, in Vauxhall.
Right.
And I think there's going to be 6 tanks there, and they're going for all large tanks, as far as I know. So
nice. So if you're perusing the gay bars, if you go to Fire on a Bender, get yourself in a float tank on a Sunday afternoon after you've been clubbing for 12 days.
Shower before you go
Shower
in there.
thoroughly.
You don't want to be sweating that ecstasy out, boy. No, don't do it.
Yeah, you'll be. I feel really elated in this tank. Have you anything else to add, Danny?
Just go in with an open mind. Don't try to hold on to anything too much. Don't go in trying to suss anything out. Go in. Oh, definitely don't touch your face when you're laying there, because that fucking water has a lot of salt in it, and it just always chooses to roll into your eye.
Well, just try 3 or 5 sessions, and I guess eventually the answers will come to you. I'm going to try it now.
It's always the best way, Just go buy 3 sessions. You'll always get a deal as a first timer. And if you don't get there on your first float, you'll definitely get there on your second float. And I know we've been.
How long is a session? I didn't ask you that. Sorry.
No, a standard session is an hour. I like to do 2 hours because I just go deeper. I know we've been talking about the use of psychedelics and drugs and all the rest of it.
Float first.
It's not all about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. Definitely doesn't have to be. It's all about floating. Whether you're doing it for your relaxation, for your mind, or you're doing it for your body. Sports injuries, like I'm saying, heaps of my mates, they were crossfitters and jiu-jitsu boys, and they were going in, and it's the best way for your body to take magnesium. Magnesium heals muscle soreness. It's just the best thing to do.
Well, Danny Kelly, world famous tattooist.
Nah, don't say that, man. Come on.
World traveller, psychonaut. Thank you for coming on the show. I've been Ethan McKinley. Subscribe to the show in the top corner here. Donate to the show in the top corner. Subscribe down there. and we'll be back with another episode. Thank you if you are listening on iTunes or SoundCloud for the white noise in the background, but we are in a working epic tattoo parlor, so maybe there'll be another episode here where they're not drilling into people's skins. But yeah, thanks, Danny.
Peace and love, man. It's been a pleasure.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
The sensory deprivation chamber has been the most important tool that I've ever used for developing my mind, for thinking, for evolving. The tank is filled with water. The water is heated to the same temperature as your body, and there's 800 pounds of salt in the water. So you just float there and relax, and because the water is the temperature of your body, you don't really feel it after a while. It's like layers of an onion. And when you first start doing the isolation tank, you can only get a couple layers of the onion in, a couple skins loose. You can't really go to the core. It's too hard. It's too hard to completely let go who you are. But as you get better at it, and as you get more and more comfortable with the experience, you get better at actually letting go, really letting go from letting go from the feeling of letting go from that point. Okay, I've let go. No, you haven't. Let go more. And then you become gone. You disappear. And while you're disappearing, this is what happens. You start thinking, I can't believe I'm disappearing. Fuck, then you're back again. You got to start from square one. You got to let go, and you got to let go, and you got to let go, and you got to get to the point where you literally completely relax. And your body, it gives you amazing energy. Your body, the tension release that you have in your body from a couple hours in the tank is incredible. You feel lighter. You feel like more oxygen is in your body. You feel like more vibrant. And it's just because you've somehow or another calmed the tension. It's fucking incredible, man. The first 20 minutes or so, for me at least, it's like sort of a seminar on my life. It shows me all the different issues in my life that I don't like and that I need to fix, and things that are bothering me, and things about my own behavior that it could have been better, and things where I'm disappointed in myself. And then it'll show me some things where I'm on the right track. This is good. Continue here. Continue doing this. Continue thinking like this. Continue exploring these ideas. But then once it gets me done, it's like, let's clear out all this bullshit in your life. Then let's think about the big picture. And then it goes from that to like this sort of relaxing, position, where my whole body is just settled into the experience. And then it's just pure thought. It's like the mind completely untethered from the body. And then I start contemplating everything. I start contemplating the universe and contemplating, the role of human beings in each individual's actions, all accumulating together to one specific event. I start thinking all kinds of crazy, crazy shit, but without the body in the way. Even us having this cool conversation here, we're sitting here on a couch, we're looking at each other, we're looking at computers, and there's sounds and noises, and there's a lot of distractions. Just your body is a distraction. And you got some crazy fucking environment that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, and it's fairly inexpensive to achieve. If the tank was something where it was a machine and you would have to strap yourself in, and they would take you through a course where you would learn how to get to the center of consciousness where your body and your mind didn't exist, it would be like a ride on Disneyland, and the line would be 7 hours long. But because it's this weird sort of an organic method of doing it, it seems strange, like you're going to get in this big coffin filled with water and you close the lid. And people start coming up with reasons why they don't want to do it. It's so important. Everybody should do the tank. You will learn more about yourself than any other way. And if you have an aversion to drugs, which totally makes sense, if you think that the drugs are dangerous, you get addicted to things, that's true. You can. If you don't trust yourself, you don't like the idea, you can have very introspective psychedelic experiences naturally in the tank. Everybody should be doing it. It's a fucking amazing way to think. I have a concept or something that I'm working on. Two things I'll do. One, I'll sit down, I'll flesh it out, I'll write what I think about things just kind of off the top of my head. And then once I've done that, once I've really kind of explored it, then I get in the tank and I rethink the whole thing. And then when I rethink the whole thing, sometimes in the tank I consider other places, where other points of view, I consider other ways of looking at it where I may not have been as sensitive to another person's opinion coming from another position, and I look at the whole thing almost like outside of myself. There's so much thinking that goes on in that tank. There's so much evolution that goes on there that it seems like it's almost impossible to do outside of there, because there's no distractions in there, nothing at all. It's just the thought. It's an amazing environment. It really should be taught in schools. All universities should have them. They should have them, and they should make them available to all of their students. It's one of the greatest tools ever for exploring thinking, exploring the way you think, and sort of making an audit of all your own personal thoughts and ideas. And which ones are you hanging on to because of your ego? Which ones are you hanging on to because they're beneficial to you? Which ones are you hanging on to because you hate your dad? You know, and he put these in your head, and so they're stuck in there. And it's so fascinating, man. And so few people do it.